Today we're doing the solving the triangles like I showed you yesterday. Yeah, but now we got to do it. I showed you how yesterday. Now we're going to do it today. So today we're not finding any angles, although it would be easy to find the angles because they got to add up to 180, and if you know. Forgot to put that in there. If you know two of them, you can find a third, right? Yeah. So eventually you'll have to do it, but for now we're just finding the lengths of the sides. So remember the acronym is SOHCAHTOA. Sine is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Cosine is the adjacent. That away. Over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay? So, when you're doing these, you need to figure out which trig function you're going to use. Now, if you look at the angle, yeah. If you look at the angle, that's the first step in trying to figure out what you're going to use. Look at the side you know. Then you got to figure out, is that the opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? It's the hypotenuse, which means I'm either going to use sine or cosine, not tangent. So then you can decide which letter you want to find first, x or y. X. X is opposite. So which trig function are you going to use? Sine. Opposite over hypotenuse. So you write the equation just like we did on that assignment 2 days ago. The sine of the angle that they gave us equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now, this is the easy equation. Because what do you got to do to solve it? Times 13. Now, we got to remember when we do these, you got to remember when you do these that your calculators have to be on degrees. If you use your iPad calculator, it should say a DEG above it. On these, if it's not, there's a DRG button right up here. You hit degrees. And on those, you got to hit mode. Okay? So in order to solve it, we just take 13 times the sine of 51. Okay, so it's 10.1. Yep, nearest tenth we'll round these two. Make sure after you punch that in your calculator that you press equals. All right, sometimes people forget to press equals. Now you got an option. Since we know this is 10.1, you could do one of two things. If you want to get used to using the proportions or the ratios, I would use cosine. The cosine of 51 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And then you solve it the same way. Take it times 13. .18, so 8.2. Now, the other way that you can do this, which is fine, Pythagorean theorem. Since you know two sides, you could just punch it in your calculator. Remember, if you're looking for a leg, you square them and subtract them and square root it. So 13 squared minus 10.1 squared, and you get the same answer, 8.2. It's a little quicker doing it that way. The only thing is sometimes you might be off a tenth on this, because since this is rounded, this one's going to be off even more. The smaller the numbers are, the more accurate it's going to be. The bigger they are, the more off they'll be. But again, if it's off by a tenth, I can tell which way you did it, so it won't be wrong. You can do them either way you want. So, for this one, here's the angle. 6 is opposite adjacent, it's adjacent, which means I either got to use cosine or tangent. And then depending on what you want to find, x is the hypotenuse, so that would be cosine. Cosine of 70 equals the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Does anyone remember what you
It would be the cosine of 70 over 6.
It would be 6 over cosine of 70.
all that ends up doing when you do the algebra is these two switch spots. So x equals 6 divided by the cosine of 70. And again, remember, press equals 17.5. So then again, the Pythagorean theorem is the quickest way. You're looking for a leg, so you would just go 17.5 squared minus 6 squared, and then square root it, it would be 16.4. After you do these, you should look at them and make sure the hypotenuse should be the longest side. If it's not, you did a wrong number. Okay, so for this one, here's 79. 9 is opposite. If we're finding x, that's adjacent.
Sorry.
Tangent. Tangent of 79 equals opposite over adjacent. So again, the x is on the bottom, so you just end up switching sides. So to figure out x, it's 9 divided by tangent of 79. What is it? 1.7. So then again, to find the hypotenuse, the quickest thing to do is the Pythagorean theorem. Since you're looking for the hypotenuse, it'd be 9 squared plus 1.7 squared, square rooted. 9.2. Okay. So that's what we're doing today.